Ooh, Halloween may be over, but still got one kind of spooky thing for you that maybe we can make a little bit less spooky. Um, it is command prompt. Um, can be a little bit scary, those of you who are not accustomed to using it, but in a lot of ways, command prompt can be very useful tool. Today, I'm going to show you how to use the system command prompt in Windows to execute commands in our WebFOCUS REST API. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to create a new folder, we're going to create a new user, and we are going to allow the user to have access to that folder as a developer. And hopefully what you'll learn from this is some ways that you can do things from outside WebFOCUS without using the GUI. Using command prompt, you can kind of create template code that can allow you to execute multiple commands very quickly, especially if you have small changes between them. Or if you're extremely fancy, you could even maybe make a batch file that does all this stuff. You might need to provide certain information in the batch file, but should definitely be doable. So first things first, I'm going to provide some information about where you can learn more about this. You can learn more about it in the Embedded Business Intelligence User Guide, which is on our doc site. And in there is a whole section on WebFOCUS RESTful Web Services that includes our API. And what you'll see is that yeah, we can use a very common, I guess, sort of utility thing called curl to execute these commands from the command prompt against your WebFOCUS application. So first things first, in order to do any of this stuff, of course, you need to be signed in as an administrator. We don't let just anyone execute these commands. So we're going to start by doing that. And this will be like a good introduction to how this is done. So you can see here that like we do it via a post command using this URL format as like the default kind of base URL. What does post mean? I've probably seen amper URLs. This is like an extremely basic version, but you've seen like URLs with ampersands and a bunch of properties in them. That's like a way that you can pass information into a web page, and that is called a get command. Post is a little bit more secure because it's not done directly in the address bar. It's done kind of like behind the scenes. So we need to use the special curl command in order to do that instead of just putting it in the URL. So first things first, in our command prompt, we're going to log in. Type in curl to start this curl process. -x is how you execute a command there. It is a post. And then we're going to type in our base URL that we got from the documentation and based on our local environment parameters. All right, so that's like the base command. Next, in order to stay signed in and execute multiple commands, and we don't need to like redo this sign in every single time, we are going to store our session in a cookie. So we're going to put it in this cookie.txt text file. It's just like a temp file that will have the cookie in there. And then after the -d is where we put the actual like data that gets passed as part of the body of the command. And that's this stuff here from the documentation. So it's IBIRS_action equals sign on. Keep in mind this stuff is all case sensitive, so be careful when you type it in. IBIRS user capital N name, gonna be admin, and my password. Okay. That should be good. Let's hit enter and see what happens. And you can see that it was successful. Got a successful response. This is the XML response from the client. So when you see this, that's a good thing. You'll get like an error or something if it wasn't successful. And the other thing I want to note is that we have cross-site scripting controls on. So you have a cross-site token that needs to be provided That is configurable. Here we have it on because that's a security best practice. Technically, you can turn that off. I don't recommend it. We pass it through this property here, this IBIWF XSRF token is the property that's going to pass through. So when we include this, this is the actual token itself, which I'm going to copy right now. When we pass that, it's going to be passed as part of that property, and I will point that out when we run our first command, which I'm just going to copy and paste in so that you guys don't need to see me typing this whole thing out. And then while it's executing, I'll explain what's going on. So first, we are going to create a new folder. Paste that in. And so let's describe what's happening here. Here's the command itself. Created a new folder, and I've called it my new folder. We've gotten the cookie from that cookie.txt temp file that we created at the beginning. The action is put, so we're creating like a new object. And then there's this like object information. This is all like in the documentation if you want to look it up. That's how I knew what to put in all these things. So here's like the type. It's a IBFS-MR object. Some more information. The description is kind of like the title of the folder. And then you can see here, this is that property that I mentioned is shown here. You could technically change that if you wanted to. And then here's the actual token itself. And you can see that I did everything correctly because it says success. So now that we're in WebFOCUS, I should expect to see a new folder in here. And there it is. This is the folder that we created, and it has the title that I specified. So if you wanted to create a whole bunch of folders, you could simply, in command prompt, hit the up arrow. It will like copy the previous command, and then you can make whatever modifications you need to make. So that's one of the benefits of that. So next, what we are going to do is we are going to create a new user. I'm just copying the token into my text. I've got like another text file with all the commands here, so I don't need to type them all out. All right, so we're going to create a new user, pretty similar to how we created that new folder. So I'm just going to paste that in, and that ran immediately and was successful, which is good. So what did I do here? It's pretty similar. Again, it's doing the post. This time, it's creating a user under this kind of path. This is the basic like user path in WebFOCUS. We've got our cookie again, and then in here, this is like all the user metadata. Or actually the command metadata includes the user stuff. So we're doing that put again. So we're creating a new user. This is the type of object that it is, which is a user. Here's the description. My new user one. Here's the actual user name that's like more internal. I did not set a password. Type is user. And we, of course, have our cross-site forgery token thing. And so we should see in here that we have that new user. So there we go. New user one has been created. And in fact, actually, curiously enough, you can see that status is undefined. I forgot to provide a status. There's probably some status property. Once again, you check the documentation for all the information that you can provide. But I didn't provide it, so status is undefined, but that's no problem. I can just go in and edit here, and I can like change the status to whatever I need it to be. So that is good. And then one last step, as I said before, was that now we're going to give that user the ability to access the folder that we created just like a couple of minutes ago as a developer. So I'm going to copy that, which I've already typed out based on the documentation, and I'm going to review how we did it as well, so that you don't need to watch me type it out. This one, it has like a whole super long XML response. It's doing a whole bunch of stuff. I think, was this the one where we created it? No. Here it is. Sometimes in the command prompt, it can be kind of hard to find stuff. Oops. But yeah, so this is the command that I pasted in. So first of all, we see again here that it was a success, which is good. That's what we want to see. No errors. Um, and if there is an error, usually it's something like, I did a typo or something like that. So I'm applying this to my new folder, which is what we created earlier on. Here's the cookie. And here's the data of my request. So we've got add rule to this folder that we created a few minutes ago and apply it to this user that we created even fewer minutes ago. We're going to permit this role for that user on that folder and its children. And of course, we need our CRUST site token so that everything's secure and passed in properly. And again, we saw that it was a success. So what we should see, if we go to this folder, if we do views the rules on this resource, you can see that it was applied. We applied the domain developer role to that user. So all that stuff, obviously I didn't type it out on screen, but based on the documentation, super long response here. Based on the documentation, you can come up with like your commands. And if you're adding a whole bunch of users at once or applying rules to a whole bunch of users at once, it might actually be faster to use the REST API than it might be to use the UI that we have. Because, you'd need to like go in and like find each user. And, here's my user. I would need to like go in, select this, change this, click apply or whatever, select the next user, scroll down, find whatever stuff I want to add. Whereas if I type it in, maybe I've got some templates, I can just like edit the specific information that needs to be edited. And if I'm really fancy, maybe I could do like a bat file. I did not do that, but probably could be done. So anyway, hope that was possibly useful to you guys. Are you already using the REST API? I'm curious to know. Are you already doing like kind of like batch scripts to do some of this stuff? If not, it might be worth trying to save some time, especially if you're doing very similar actions over and over. Let me know what you think. Thanks.